we're gonna start it. So, cheers.
Cheers.
I'm looking at you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Cheers. No product placement.
What's that?
It's lime soda.
What's that?
It's
It's
Spanish.
just lemon lime. It's a limeade.
Oh, that looks fun.
Looks
You
fun.
have no sippy sips, Esther?
I did. I had my matcha, but it's gone now.
Oh, it's fine.
It's okay.
That's okay. That's
It's
okay.
alright.
We
Virtual
drink.
cheers.
We drink here, and we take a little
A virtual cheers to you as
a
well.
virtual
Yes.
cheers to you.
Even
on
if
the
your
other side.
cup is empty, it's all good.
Mhm.
Anyways, we're starting.
Mm.
Hi, I'm Lorrie.
And I'm Mel, and we have some guests today. Woo! On the pod, we have my brother, Althemar, and his partner, Esther. Hi, guys.
What up? How you guys doing?
Hi.
Introduce yourselves, please. Tell us about you.
Just a quick blurb, I guess.
Just a quick little blurb. Little what do you do, or what are your passions?
Some
And
little thing.
just a little quick thing. Nothing too crazy. Go for it.
Mhm.
Hi, my name is Esther, or Ez. My pronouns are they, them, she, her, and I'm an actor and filmmaker.
Yeah. Let's go, Althemar.
My name is Althemar. Don't try and spell that on the first try. Don't Google it either. Because you'll find me. And I be out here. That's it. Yeah.
He is out there.
You be out here.
Awesome. Great. Love to hear it. You're out there.
Sorry.
Thanks.
The streets know.
The streets know.
The streets,
Yeah.
huh? Damn.
Cool.
They
You're
know.
for the street.
Damn. I didn't know the streets would be like that.
No, they
Oh, yeah,
know.
see?
I'm not
That's
for the
what you
streets,
know.
but they
You
know.
for the streets? Oh.
Woo!
Oh, the streets for you.
Oh, the streets are.
No.
Oh, Esther.
To be continued.
And that's the end of the episode.
And we're good. Okay. Anyways, I think, we usually do like a catch up. And we'll start into the topic. I mean, is there anything you guys want to update? How was your week? How are you doing?
How you feeling?
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
I'm feeling. Unless you don't know this story. So my job has a bus stop in front of it, right? And this bus stop has one of those normal, rectangle bus stops that you sit in, and it has the bench in there, all normal and whatnot. Apparently, the day I was off from work, a pregnant lady crashed straight through the bus stop. Right around the time I would get off on the bus stop at 11 a.m. And I heard about this. I got off the bus and I stepped onto it, and I was like, oh, they must have let me off at the road instead. And then I looked around and I was like, I'm not at the road. Everything's gone. Why is everything gone? And they filled me in, and apparently this lady she started swerving somewhere down the way. Because apparently someone caught security cam from the factory on the other side of the street. And I was told secondhand later in the day by the two guys who work at the other side. And they're like, yeah, she was swerving. And then instead of hitting the brake, she hit the gas and went straight through the whole thing, took glass with her all the way down the way, and then finally stopped. And then they had to ask my office about what happened because they might have seen something. And apparently she just got out fine. But I don't know who's paying for that. That was wild. I was like, damn, so no one going to fix that though? I'm sure
Why does it matter that she's pregnant? Was she about to give birth? Like, was that relevant?
She wasn't giving birth. Apparently there was something wrong, but they were the cops did not explain what this was. Allegedly. No, nothing in the news about it though. I tried
Final
searching
Destination,
for anything.
and now it's gonna come after you at a different time.
Dude, you cheated death, and
You cheated death, and now it's gonna come after you.
I don't know. Watch out! Watch out!
I see.
Because that was a little crazy. That the
They're
pregnant
weak.
lady came out
They're
fine.
weak. They missed me by 5 miles.
Holy Jesus! Well,
Well, Esther, I hope you're having a better week.
yeah.
Yeah. I am definitely nowhere near a bus stop. I'm nowhere not being crashed into by a pregnant lady.
Good to
Say.
know.
Nothing like that. Yeah.
Jesus. That's insane.
Goddamn. All right.
What about you, Lori?
What did I even do this?
Damn.
Bro, I've been just like, I moved, and I'm just like in this fix of trying to fix my place up and shit.
Yes.
So, and I'm still in the process of it. So, I've just kind of been at home a lot. I did go out yesterday to Industry City, and I just drank by myself at various places and did wine tastings and whiskey tastings. They're all free, so
Oh, wow.
that's what I did yesterday.
Nice.
I also have season tickets now to the WNBA for the New York Liberty, because now that's going to be a part of my life for the
Oh,
summer.
wow.
Wow.
So sick. We're gonna go to a game.
We're going to go to games.
We're gonna go to a game on her birthday.
We're going to go support women's sports and also be very gay at them.
Yeah. Woohoo!
There was
That's so
some
true.
there was some discourse about the WNBA and like I believe on Twitter or something where it's like, well, damn, I'm about to become basketball husband. Let me in here, and a bunch of people are like, they're not gonna be looking at you, bro.
Yeah, they're
looking at
not
each
gonna
other.
want you.
Right.
They don't want you there, bro.
Well, I mean, as
Not
funny as I
funny.
do make the gay jokes, at the same time, it's kind of upsetting though that a lot of like more masculine, like athletic women are automatically gay because they,
Yeah, that
you know,
absolutely.
because they're usually like really fit, especially like WNBA women, and some of them are gay for sure. Have
Some
bias.
of them definitely are,
And
but
some of them are straight or pan or bi or whatever they are.
yeah, but not all of them. We shouldn't.
That's a whole other conversation, though.
It
How
is.
we
Of
masculinize
course.
women, especially POC women and athletes.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a future episode.
Yeah.
Future episode. Actually, didn't I bring that up? I definitely mentioned that before.
Yeah.
That might be a topic later. You can come back for
Link
it.
that
We can
right
definitely
here
come back and
on the
talk.
doobly.
You can come back for
It
that.
might
one.
not be all for me, but I am for them. So,
I mean,
I am
for sure.
here.
I am also for that.
There we go. Yep.
Same.
Yep.
I'm for it. But yeah, that's me. What about you?
Yesterday I had a big one. I went to my cousin's baby shower. Althemar, you might know about that. Our cousin's baby shower.
Did he not know?
Mhm.
No, he did not.
No.
He did not.
I didn't. I forgot
He's
it
not
was
present.
happening. I'll be honest.
What is that?
I forgot it was happening. I forgot it was happening, Melissa. I forgot.
Damn.
It's fine.
I
so
already
He
made-
doesn't know who that baby is. So.
He's like, I don't know that baby.
Listen, I just met her previous baby from the previous baby shower. That was just last year.
That's true. That's true.
So-
Yeah, they just pop it out. Baby. Oh,
Yeah.
your husband doesn't watch this.
not the. Come on. No way.
Yeah, no, she doesn't watch this, but I'm pretty sure if she did, she wouldn't care. I think she'd find it really funny.
We wouldn't.
Okay.
We wouldn't. Let's hold out. The three-peat they say. Kobe.
No.
No! Shush. You never know. Next year she might invite us to another old baby shower. No, we'll see though. We'll see.
You should make bets.
Oh. We should've
People
made
do
that bet.
this.
We should've
People
made that
do
bet
this in
last
bigger
year.
families.
No, they do.
Absolutely.
They do.
That's
They
some
do.
crazy shit.
But Althemar, you didn't really go to the baby. You didn't go to the baby shower last year either, huh?
No, because I didn't know it was happening either. That one I didn't know. I didn't know.
All right.
That didn't even tell me about that one. You told me about this one.
Well, you know what? I found out before Dad did. But Dad didn't go to the baby shower either because he had something going on. His excuse was that he had something going on in his apartment. Something was leaking from the ceiling, and he had some
Nah, that's a lie.
ingrown
No way.
nail. Well,
No way.
me and Travis
somehow-
went. Me and Travis went, and he did have
Oh, it
some kind
was?
of leakage. Yeah, he did.
Damn, that magically happened in 2 days. I'm surprised, honestly.
Oh, I don't know. Unless he
I'm
put
surprised.
he put a bucket under the ceiling just to appear that something's going on. But he said that. the
Oh,
water was
but did
coming
you
back
see?
up.
Did you see water?
No, but we did see water when we got into the building. Like there was some water leaking from the ceiling in the foyer of the building. So I was like, oh, this is a building problem. It's not a dad's apartment problem.
Okay.
Why do you think
'Cause
he's lying?
He Well,
Yeah, he
I
puts on,
know.
and I'm
I
like,
know.
"You sure
He'd be
can."
making up excuses to not go places. He'd be like,
Well, his
That's
other excuse was
crazy.
that he had some ingrown nail. Me and Travis got to his apartment because we were
That's a wild
supposed to
excuse.
visit him for a little bit. Man, he was dramatic. He had his whole foot out on his sandal. He had a whole band-aid on his big toe. He was like, I can't go anywhere. My nail.
That's a drama queen. It's fine.
Oh, is he? But the issue is that our cousin, she lives on the 5th floor of this walk-up. No elevator.
yeah, I heard this was the 5th floor.
Yo,
or the
that's-
6th floor. or
That's a
something.
New York thing I try to avoid when I was looking for an apartment.
Oh, Lorrie, it was so high. So high. The stairs were so steep. I was like, oh, when is this going to end? Horrible. I haven't lived in a 5th floor walk-up since we lived in the Bronx all those years ago.
Yeah.
It was a cool time. Travis met that side of the family. And that was fun.
Mhm.
You know, saw Rusty there. That was
Mhm.
great, let me tell you.
I like that me and
He's a what?
Esther are just like
Sorry.
here listening to the family tea. I feel like I need popcorn.
Like,
I need
ingrown
tea.
toenail,
I need
5-floor
some
walk.
popcorn right now.
It
It's
was.
like,
It was like a lot. But I mean, it was fun without getting into a whole bunch of other stuff. Because there's family tea, but this is not what the episode is about. So we move on.
we should do an episode about family tea. I got some tea too.
Oh, that's a good episode.
Granted, I'm slightly afraid my
Oh,
parents
Lord.
will watch this. So
Your mom found our TikTok.
my mom found our TikTok. My mom's on TikTok. Who helped her make a TikTok? Who helped her? I dealt with the Instagram. It was fine. Okay, cool. I thought TikTok was my safe space.
Did she go and like your
Yeah,
post?
she literally liked some of my posts. And then when I saw that she liked our post on our podcast one, I was like, ah! She liked one post on my thing, and then she like kind of mass liked a bunch of stuff on my
Oh, that's really
on my
sweet.
page.
Support.
I know. No, okay. Look, my mom's the cutest. She's adorable, but
She's so
she
cute.
doesn't need to see everything I do on TikTok because you know what? My gayest shit is on TikTok. Oh no, and my Instagram stories. My Instagram stories are very gay, but I block my mom from my stories.
You don't
Oh.
you don't post that much though on Instagram.
Well, I used to, but you know when I like go out and I go to burlesque shows, I do because I tag my friends in it. Because my friends are in it, so I tag
you post
them.
half naked women.
I do post half naked women, yes. So my stories are my.
You can't be
stories are
seeing these
blocked.
titties. You can't see those.
I mean, who knows? Maybe she'll be supportive and just mass like.
Does she know what she's liking? Actually, like as she
Or
scrolls
is she just
through?
like, ooh, my kid, you know?
So I usually post half naked women on my stories. Before people get weird about it, I have friends that are in burlesque, so it's not that weird. I go to support them. I give them money.
Exactly.
friendly money. It's friendly money.
It's
Friendly
friendly money. Exactly.
Friendly
It's
money.
not dirty money.
I'm into a safe queer space, guys.
All right.
Okay,
No
anyway.
alarms, please.
Okay, anyways.
Diving into, I guess, part of the subject, queerness, and in all of that.
Yeah.
But queerness in relationships.
Yeah.
Or relationships in general. You guys are partners. We're not. We're podcast partners.
Yep.
And I don't know, I guess we're just kind of going into just like the variety of relationships and how they're perceived, because we are all in this heteronormative kind of world right now, and it's changing all the time, hopefully for the better, but you know there's people out there that still assume a lot of things. It's like how we brought up earlier, like masculinizing women and that
Right.
aren't gay or things like that, or men who show any sort of emotion and they're gay. And then if they're in a hetero-presenting relationship, they're like, oh no. Or, you know when you go on TikTok or Instagram and the stories, like, it's like a dude just showing like some sort of emotion and everyone's like, oh, who's gonna tell her? Or dumb shit like that.
Yeah.
It's like, the way relationships are perceived is just like,
Or the
varies.
sassy man rhetoric. You know?
It just varies a lot, generally. So, Esther, you identify as non-binary, correct?
Yes.
And Althemar, you're at
Wait,
traits.
how do you identify?
I am the he him.
Okay.
You identify as a cis man, so I was
Mhm.
assume.
Okay.
So, what real queers, I identify as female. You?
I also identify as cisgender female. She, her. If you call me they, I feel a little spicy about it.
I'm a she, her, they, them. It's whatevs.
If you call me they, them, I'm gonna be like, thanks. I take it as a compliment.
Okay.
So I like that.
I feel like the better dressed queers are always they, them. So if I get a they, them, I'm like, oh, thanks. You know? Oh my god, thanks.
I also feel like me and Travis spoke about this, but to have like nice like fashion sense nowadays, if it doesn't look a little queer, are you really pulling a fit? You know what I mean?
Oh my.
Oh, example, my best friend who's very much a straight cis woman, because she looks like an artsy lesbian. She
100%.
owns more Carhartt than I do, as in I don't own any.
We're talking about
And
Marissa,
yeah, we're talking about Marissa. She already knows. It's alright. She knows. We literally talked about it the other day. I'm gonna talk to her later, and I'll
Shout out
let her know.
Marissa.
For her fiance as well. He is a straight cis man, also a little bit queer looking. He definitely the two of them, when we bring them to queer events, they definitely get hit on by the same sex, and it's the funniest thing. I mean, he gets his pants tailored so they're like nice and fit.
I love that.
And like
great.
That's so nice.
We should always, you know, I think that should come back. Tailor your clothes, people. Make them last longer. Make them last longer.
But yeah,
Enough with fast fashion.
Enough.
Just like fix up your old stuff.
Right. Sustainability wins. All right, so
You got them written. You got them written.
I got some questions. So first of all, tell us about how you guys met. Who made the first move? Give us the deeds. Give us a tea.
We have the same synopsis, but I think we remember very different things.
That happens. Right.
Okay, so for me,
Version number 1.
I had just gotten out of a situationship. I had gotten back on Hinge. I was going on dates. It was a weekend where I was going on several different dates at the same time, and our date happened to be the last one. So it was like Sunday night after a Friendsgiving. I was like, oh, whatever, I'm having fun. I'm going to Jersey City. I'm going to Barcade. Wait.
This is your default move every time you gotta be like, I'm living.
I do.
And prior to this, when we matched, he had responded to a prompt, like a voice note prompt on my profile about like the weirdest gift I'd ever received, which was like penis-shaped pasta. And he had made a joke about like penne pasta. That's a whole other story. When you have a weird gifts episode, I'll be back. I'll invite myself back.
That's a good one. We should. I like that.
Lord.
Weirdest and the worst.
And then we got on a voice call, and then I was like, when are you? We were like talking about nothing, laughing about everything. And I was like, when are you going to ask me out on a date? Because other guys that I've matched with have asked me on a date. And so he asked me out, and we went on that date. We met at the Barcade, and I thought it was going to be just like an hour or two. It was many hours. We stayed long past closing, and then I think I went on one more date after that, and during the entire date, I was like, before the date, I was texting him, and after the date, I was still texting him.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I gotta cancel everybody else. So I like ended things with other people, and I told them, I'm sorry you bought movie tickets, I'm gonna pay you back. All this, and the rest was history.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Althemar.
Yeah,
Is
that your addition to the story?
Is that how you remember?
I mean, yeah. That's about the long and short of it. I mean, from my end, when you're gonna ask me out, it's like it was a week. You know, it was a solid week of talking in between work and whatnot, and like voice notes, and then the voice notes got more constant, right? And then it was clear that Esther became fed up that I had not asked them out yet.
It was clear,
right? And I was like, I am thinking of something. I am choosing places, and I laid out a few options, and I was like, okay, well, what if we did it tonight? What if it was tonight? If there was no date planned that day, it was that very same day that I went, well, what if it was now? And they were like, okay, it's now. It can be now. and then the rest is history there. But we hit it off incredibly wonderfully. When they mean closing, they mean way past. They mean like it was 3:30 a.m. and then we had to call a taxi. There was no light rail happening at that point, right? there's
Yeah.
no. But yeah, it was about the thing of it on my end, like on Hinge, like I was only talking to one more person, and I was like, it's. I think I got it. I think I'm because I remember I was like, well, I have to make the move to ask for the number, and I'm like, how do I do this cleverly? And
Cleverly.
I forgot how it is I did it, but I remember hearing the voice note response, like very precociously, like going, well, you can have my number, I guess, like you can have it, and sends number. And I remember vividly being in the car. I think I was coming back from bowling with the gang, and I was like, and it was like right as they were driving into my house, it was like, yeah, I got it, yes, and everyone in the car was like, yeah. I did it.
That actually would have been
that's about the long and short of it.
Be the person in the corner.
Yeah, 100%. That definitely would have been me. Oh yes, yeah.
Nice. Okay. Cute.
Lovely. So you hit it off. Everything went well. When did Althemar know about Esther's pronouns? Was it immediately? Was that like a conversation that you guys had like right off the bat? Esther, did you have your pronouns on your Hinge profile? How did that go?
Yeah, that was on there. That's just on there.
Yeah. I wanted to make it very clear, and I know even when I make it clear, because of my appearance, at times, like, a lot of cis men will just go, oh yeah, or like, they'll just like wave it off, or think like, oh, you're like diet Coke version of like a woman, like it's fine. Yeah, and I know that would happen, or they would ignore that, and so I think I always, because I think at every date I would say, that I'm non-binary, right? Like, that I'm not a girl. So I always try to make it clear, but it's always a little bit scary, I think, when I'm especially on dates or dating cis men. I don't know what their reaction's going to be, and if I've never met them before and it's in person, right, you don't know what that reaction is going to be, if there's going to be
of course,
a sort of safety thing that I'm going to have to worry about too. Okay. But either way, I always want to make it clear, because I don't want to be, in a relationship where that's not being respected, or that's something that is being overlooked.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was it was the second date where we had harder conversations about certain things. I believe after getting through. Yeah, I think it was the second day. It's not something that was brought up, I don't think, in a tone making it clear, assertive way. It was something
assertive in my head. In practice, not as me trying to like trying.
No, I get that. I mean, being assertive is, an effort. Trying to figure it out, especially in dating, because, like we said, being perceived one way, being non-binary, but being received as like, oh, like a woman, probably like on your side, maybe a little more femme, but it's just like, oh, well, it's not what it is. And it's weird. It's weird to bring up the conversation in general. I mean, it's good. I'm glad that, you brought it up earlier. Obviously, you guys wouldn't be together right now if it was something that was stated later anyways, and if he wasn't respecting that. But it's a difficult conversation. And I feel like a lot of queer people in that sense, whether non-binary or trans, or even just like pansexual or bisexual, it's like a conversation where it's like, hey, like, how do you bring it up? Like, I guess in that conversation.
And I understand that, Esther, it could be really scary to do that, because I think that, people that are pansexual, people that are bisexual, non-binary, and appear so much like this one gender can face that dismissal
almost like an immediate dismissal.
An immediate,
to be
like
honest.
as like you said, like if you when you date other cis men, they're just kind of like, oh, I mean, sure, but,
Sure.
yeah, whatever.
Cool.
You know what I mean? And then like when you're not around, they're like, she's my girl, I love her, and you know. But then it's kind of like, what are you doing?
Sorry to laugh at your impression. I don't know what.
I don't even know what that was. I was trying to
At first,
rat, dude.
you like almost went surfer, but then you just kind of were like, yeah, and I don't know where it went. I didn't know what the impression.
I was channeling Greek, the fraternities. I was going there, but yeah, I think that sort of goes into my next question, Althemar. So, have you dated other non-binary people? And if you haven't, what's different in this dynamic for you? How has that changed for you? And like how you date and how you like woo Esther and like I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Woo is so funny. I don't woo in this way. I don't think.
I don't woo.
I don't woo. Not the Sims woo. Not the Sims woo, but like
That's woohoo, isn't it?
It is.
What is but like not until this point, no. In terms of like how I've how it wooed the wooing, there was no wooing. There was nothing different about the way I really approached, like I think it's pretty simple to be respectful of someone's identity. And there's, simple as in it's a very simple task, but like
say it louder for the people.
I think it's pretty, simple to do that, and like it shouldn't really, unless like you are fighting some sort of like baser instinct about how you like naturally refer to people and how you treat certain aesthetics or something like that, right? Those are conversations you would need to be having with yourself about that, and maybe realize those along the way in a way that doesn't hurt anyone else. But like, nothing really changed about how I approached. But I don't have a purposeful approach, as it were, for wooing anyone. You're in dating, this way,
and that's it. It's like you're dating, you talk to other people. That's it. It's like it's a simple concept, but unfortunately, being respectful, especially in the first parts of dating, you think is like just a normal, common courtesy thing amongst people, and truly it's not, which is upsetting. Honestly, very annoying. That's why dating fucking sucks.
It's not the best. It's really not the
best. We can have a whole podcast about what online dating is.
More than welcome to come
I
back.
can tell you
what
what
we
was
talked
that weekend before I went on the date with him. I mean, there were some people.
Yeah, sure. Like the way you were talking, it seems like you had already had a deal with some other people, and online dating, you're probably talking to more than one person, or even you're going on multiple first dates. It's already tiring. It's
you just gotta assume that the other person on the other side is just talking to multiple people, and they're dating, and they're out there, until you get to that point where you're just kind of like, it's just me and you, right?
Yeah, and it's just like you probably had to go through a lot of generally disrespect in a way that they don't recognize, which is also the part. It's weird because I do feel like it's hard to know anything if you just don't know it. If you're not even in that environment. We're both lucky enough to grow up in places that are pretty diverse. New York, right. California, it's just like melting pots of things, and then you meet people from another state that maybe just isn't as experienced in that. So like again, I feel like though you can tell when it's general, like they're just uneducated about something, or where they're just being purposely ignorant about things.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but for the most part, I feel like you could sort of feel the sense if they're being dishonest about
either ignorant or just completely dismissing the idea as something new, something they could understand better, instead of just brushing it off. Yeah. So, Esther, when did you know that you were non-binary, and how has that affected you and your relationships? platonic or romantic?
Yeah. I mean, I probably knew earlier than I could put a name on it. Like I'd spent a lot of time. Like I grew up very religious. My dad was a reverend, so that was the place that that was where I was coming in from. My understanding of gender was very limited. I didn't know the word non-binary until I went to college because I grew up so religious.
Yeah.
And I always felt really uncomfortable, like in my gender. I remember when I first had to go get a bra, like I cried, like I wanted, it felt so like something was being placed on me to be a certain type of person immediately, and I couldn't, really dissect it or understand it. And the only guidance I had were from people who were coming from very religious perspectives. And then, towards the end of high school, I knew that I could put a word to just the way that I was feeling about my attraction to people. And it was, now I call myself queer, but I used to say bi and then at times pan, just sort of fluctuating, thinking about what that means. And then in college, I came out in sophomore year. And then the pandemic happened while I was a junior in college.
Okay.
And I went home, and after I come out as bi, I also went through a phase where I felt like I had to present myself really, really hyper femme for some reason. I think it was a lot of dissecting the shame of like religious shame and feeling like a sort of and I think a lot of probably sapphic people felt this way, where your attraction to women feels like sort of you're leaving what you're supposed to be as as a part of your gender. You're sort of skewing the way that people have placed the sort of weight of being whatever gender you are, because now you're queer, and that is inherently like outside of the gender binary, as it has like sort of heteronormative gender binary has placed itself, right? And then so I was presenting myself very femme because I was so scared of whatever idea of being queer was in my head, that had been fed into my head. And then while I was at home during quarantine, I didn't have to present myself in any way. And then I realized that I was talking to my friends, and I went, do you guys ever feel, and I was talking to specifically my friends who are women of color, and I was like, do you ever feel like being a woman is just sort of like a thing that it's like a label that you have? You just feel sort of like a blob of, nothing. It's not really, and they said, no, I think you should think more about that. And I said, well, I will later, not now, later. And eventually, soon after, I started using she, they pronouns, and eventually I had people asking me, well, what do you really want to use? And then, people who really know me well use they, them pronouns.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, that's how it came to be.
Gotcha.
And then in terms of like my relationships, I mean, like I said, I grew up really religious. I think I'm Korean, and most Korean American people are really religious. They're mostly Christian, Catholic.
Yeah.
I am sure that if I were to encounter people from my growing up, they would not see me the same. I mean, I still live in a heavily Korean American town. So like during Pride, when I was coming home, I got approached by like a street evangelist for speaking to me in Korean. And and so, it's, my extended family doesn't know, but it's fine that they don't speak English. And if they did, it's, I've just sort of come to peace with it, that it is just something that I have decided for myself. And, it's just going to be an unusual thing to navigate.
Right. I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, navigating queerness too, especially I feel like a lot of us probably grew up sort of religious. I don't know if you guys did. I know my family's Roman Catholic, Filipinos.
I know my prayers. I know my prayers just because my grandma taught me them. Fortunately, like my mom wasn't really strict with us about going to church. Like she wasn't like that with us. So we never really went to church. Yep. I went to church on my own, but that's a whole different story. But
oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah. We through dance, I went to church. I became a whole evangelist, and it's the whole thing. But so in the past though, our grandmothers like really tried to enforce that on us, but we weren't really into the church. We never really went every Sunday, but that's definitely a thing that my family carries. My mother's always like, you gotta believe in something, you gotta believe in God, all the time.
I'm glad that my parents also didn't really force me to be very religious.
Yeah.
We went for like Christmas mass and stuff. One time when I was a kid, I cried about not getting the Jesus crouton and like.
We have this ongoing joke that it's a
the Jesus.
It's
the Jesus. People on TikTok hate me because I never called it the name that it should have been. I just said anything that wasn't.
No, I like that. I wish I thought of that.
Listen, I grew up my entire life thinking that was a potato chip. My entire life. I thought I was like, that's a Pringle.
Man. It's a Pringle. I never called it a Pringle, Melissa. I don't know how you got
Pringle.
That's definitely a Pringle.
They look like a little wafer thing. The Crest Crisp.
I always wanted it, but I never
crazy. You need to brand that right now. Don't let them steal it.
Anyway. We're gonna get past that. I mean, yes, growing up very religious, but also I relate to it a little bit. I mean, we're different Asian cultures. You're Korean, I'm Filipino, but there's like a similarity. I feel like with a lot of Asian cultures, for the most part, in like queerness, it is a strange topic. I actually didn't realize that Korean people are that religious. It's fun because I have quite a few. Like I have a lot of Korean friends back home, but they're all queer. So they're already in their space of queerness. And I just feel that with like even my parents, or I've seen with other Filipino families. I mean, there's a lot of gay people in the Philippines, but honestly, I've always kind of felt like it was the butt of a joke. They're always, bakla means gay, but the way people say it sounds not like they're just saying gay. They're saying, they're gay. I mean, even growing up, my parents... I came out to my parents much later in life than I did everybody else in my life. But I did tell them why. I had taken so long to tell them. Otherwise, everybody else knows. Like my siblings do, all that other stuff. Yeah. And my sister is lesbian as well. And she came out when she was 14. I'm 14 years younger than her. So I was only a thought. At that point. At that point, and like... It wasn't good when she came out. My dad especially was not... He's one of the nicest people ever, but did grow up super religious. And my mom also... And the thing is, my mom didn't entirely accept it, but she really had that mama bear energy, though, where she was like, you can't just not talk to your kid. This is our daughter. This is not like... This isn't chill. And then when I came out, it was better. I mean, there's still some undertones of my dad hoping we end up with a dude, because I said I was bisexual, and so I am attracted to both, but I am dating a woman at this moment. And but it was better. I mean, he did tell me, I know what I did to your sister, and that wasn't good, and I don't want to try to do that again. So there was development, at least in these years. So it was good. But it was scary. I was scared to tell my parents for a long time because I'd heard them watching Filipino television, and every time a gay guy comes on, it's always a really like effeminate gay man, and it's always just like, and the way they said it, I could hear it too. They're like, the bakla, all this other stuff, and it was just like,
I felt that way whenever like my mom would say something about somebody on TV. I felt really defensive about it. Before, I think like long before I even came out to her and told her about my bisexuality and like my queerness and stuff, I feel like she would always say something like maricón, like that's like that gets under my skin like faggot and dyke does.
Yeah, the way bakla gets under my skin is kind of the same way.
Yeah. It's like it makes me just like I hate it.
Even though it literally just translates to gay. Just, the way it's used just wasn't.
It's the tone.
And it was always how I felt, because my sister had been out for so many years, and they were still saying bakla the way that they were, like when she wasn't around or something, or they're just watching TV. It was just like a casual word, and I didn't like it. And it fueled why I took so long to come out to them. Being like growing up in like a traditional like family like that.
How is the dynamic with your father and your sister now?
They're good. I mean, her wedding, my dad did one of the speeches. And truly, let me tell you,
Yes.
everybody cried. Everybody cried.
I can't.
It was, I mean, a part of me was like, it took them until her wedding to really, really accept it. But at the same time, you can tell it was genuine. So yeah, everybody cried.
Yeah.
So it was a thing. So like, they're okay. Yeah, it's different now. And my parents are pretty chill. I mean, they're really nice to Charlie. Charlie's already been back to my house. She's met my family several times. We've been to Christmas the last 2 Christmases at my house back in California. My siblings are they've known I was queer since I was in high school, so that wasn't really a problem. Right now it seems accepting, but when your parents just like say something slightly bad, that isn't they don't mean it, but it just kind of like comes out wrong. It's like when your parents say something your grandparents maybe said something slightly racist, and then you're just like, hey grandma, maybe don't say that. I also feel like older people are learning, because especially like grandparents, they really were in the time of segregation, so it is very different. My parents are older; they're in their 70s at this point. But talking on like the topic of queerness and the people around you when they're like supporting you, I know one of your early questions too is just like, Althemar, on your side, how do you, like how would I heard your question about like supporting Esther's queerness and like as a straight cis man?
How do you honor Esther's queerness when Esther's not around? How does that, when you talk about Esther, how does that sound?
Do you also feel like when people talk about other people and don't respect other people's queerness, does that also get to you because you have a queer partner?
Yeah, it doesn't regularly like. Normally, like my circle of friends normally respects that sort of thing, right?
Good circle.
Good.
As
it should be,
right?
And like especially like let's say Alvaro's never going to watch this.
You don't know that.
Let's say Alvaro, for example, he's like, there has been in the past where I've certainly had to explain certain concepts. But the thing that changed about Alvaro somewhere along the, I guess, 10 years now is that at some point he was much less receptive to a lot of concepts. And now, like for example, this is the first, non-binary person I've dated. And I explained this concept thus, and I was like, okay, well, this is what this means. And I kind of had to explain, gender identity in that instance. But he was like, oh, okay. I mean, yeah, all right. Yeah, and
Cool.
and it was pretty funny in a way. But I guess one way I explained that, I have that whole conversation with someone in place. But like, I wouldn't call it honor, but it's
it just seems like you don't
respectful.
dismiss their identity, as we talked earlier, like how people just immediately dismiss because I've also seen it in other couples, whether it's someone who is bisexual or honestly just being a woman, and they'll just say something where there's like, oh, wave it off, like they're already dating, so it's like they almost feel like we're already here, so what are you gonna do about it if I don't say the right pronouns, or if I don't do a certain thing?
But I think that definitely ties into boundaries and how early you guys had that conversation. I know that you mentioned on the that it was kind of like a hard conversation, and you had hard conversations around the second date early on, because if you say it in the beginning, this is how I identify, respect it. Some people, if you don't say that, it's like,
I do feel like, do you guys agree, since obviously you guys had that conversation, but do you think that people just generally should have those hard conversations in the beginning? I do. I personally, when I was dating before, maybe in my early 20s, mid 20s, I was a little shyer in the fact of I wasn't very assertive. I also was just very, I just wasn't as direct, because I was like a people pleaser in a lot of ways. I still kind of am in some ways, but there's a point now that I don't care anymore. But like now, when I was dating, before me and Charlie started dating, I was very open about, even on the first date, that might be a lot for a first date, but I'm very blunt. Hey, this is what I'm feeling about relationships. Like, are you looking to actually be in a relationship? Oh, are you very like direct? Do you make decisions a lot? too much time is wasted a lot. I mean, a lot of people will complain about dating and how blah, 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 and then stuff comes out later. It's just like, I feel like it's because you should have had harder conversations in the first few dates.
Yeah.
Just to not waste anyone's time, your own time, their time. It's honestly supposed to be something that helps both parties
For sure.
when it comes to dating.
Oh, absolutely. Unequivocally. Yeah, I think like putting the cards on the table, as it were. Like it's not, and I think that should be clear. Like it's not to absolve yourself if certain faults show up later that you yourself couldn't amend or make up for. By the second date, we were already been seriously considering this, right? And so that meant that you'd have to have a harder conversation about, well, if we both intend for this to be the long haul, then what are the problems that might arise? What are certain things about ourselves that might rear up in certain spikes?
I think in a perfect world, just about specifically about queerness and pronouns like that, no one should have to explain themselves. But
True.
I think we do live in a very imperfect world. And so I think if that is something you want to, I think queer people should be able to draw boundaries regarding their identity and how they want to be respected in ways that they most feel protected and comfortable. And for me, that was telling him immediately that this is who I am. I want to make it very clear that you're not with a girl. So yeah, I think because I know that the other sort of there has in that discourse has always been other stuff that I don't personally experience, like trans-binary people going on dates and then being accused of lying because they didn't disclose that immediately, and that's just not true. They're not lying. That is, so it's like those aspects. I just want to be very careful about, what I mean by that, because I want it to serve the person, right? I don't want it to be a thing of course I have to disclose this, because if not, I am not being truthful. That's not, yeah. And the other thing is yes, my pronouns are in the profile and my intentions, but people can overlook that so quickly. And so I think it really helped that I restated my boundaries very clearly in person. And he has this person that's actually sharing that in front of him. It's like a very tangible experience. I think that makes a difference. But yeah, again, I think it helped that I felt comfortable enough to do it. That in whatever our conversations had happened before made me feel good enough that I was like, okay, I can say this and draw this boundary.
Right.
I do think it very telling, though, that people who are queer, especially if there are certain caveats in the realm of online dating, have to reiterate this sort of thing, and that very rarely will you get someone who read a profile all the way through.
That's another
and then they'll be like, what?
That's something else entirely, we can get into another.
When people are surprised, that's another thing. If you're online dating, guys, I'm gonna really fucking tell you, fucking read the profile.
Please read. Don't just look at a picture and swipe. And
that's not even for me. I'm not even on apps anymore, but it's just read the thing.
It's on you. It's on you for not reading. That's your fault.
That's just dumb shit. It's like you said, not dating intentionally. It's like you don't care. You're just I'm just gonna go on this date.
And I get if you're on a dating app and you're on there for a long time, like for months at a time.
Sure.
I understand how jaded somebody can become, and the app can sort of become like a game. You have to just sort of face the facts. If you're on a dating app, you have to figure out why you're on a dating app. Are you on there for a distraction? Are you on there for a serious relationship? Are you on there to really connect with somebody on an emotional level or physical? What are you doing?
I feel like that shows through the dating. Like obviously with you guys, we're very forward about your boundaries and stuff like that, but it'll come out, I feel like. Yeah. That when you're talking or when you go on a first date, it'll come out, and I feel like you'll be able to tell if that person is intentionally dating.
For sure. How long, real quick, I feel like I should have asked this in the beginning, but how long have you guys been together?
It was just recently, our anniversary. Recently. Not too far away from in March.
In November. Wait, what?
Oh, no, not March. I'm kidding.
March.
That's February 1st. So I should background this. I stacked every gift. I was like, well, yeah, but no, November was our anniversary, and
Yeah.
Your first
and I didn't give the gift there.
Your first year anniversary.
November.
Yes.
Yeah, first year anniversary.
Yeah.
I think my only other question, because we're gonna wrap it up soon, is just so there's this like not really a debate, but just something that came up on TikTok. That's something that's very kind of going about, and it's the conversation of like straight women dating bisexual men, and how this weird. Is it a double standard? Because I feel like straight men will date queer women, but like straight women won't date queer men, and which is so crazy to me. I feel like a queer man's probably gonna treat you better than half these cis men out here.
Period.
So straight men out here, but it's just like so. The conversation is just how a lot of straight women won't date a bisexual man because they've been with other men, and I shouldn't read comments, but I was curious about the back and forth. I would see people who's like, I shouldn't be forced to blah, blah, blah to date like by men. If I don't want to date them, that's just my preference. Like, but at this point, you're not going to the root of what your preference is. You're not going to the root of the problem. Your root of the problem is that, and it comes up. They tell on themselves too. They're like, I can't imagine like him with a man. It's like, why are you imagining your current partner with any other person that isn't you? Okay, but he also dated women, but you don't seem to care about that. But you're thinking about him with a man. But why? You are currently dating him. Like, if this bisexual man hits every single one of your on your checklist or whatever it is, but they're bi, and that is your deal breaker, I think people need to recognize that is inherently biphobia and homophobia in that.
100%.
I mean, it's homophobia. And the reason why I'm not saying specifically biphobia is because they just generally anything of a man with a man is what's creeping them out. It's not like lesbians or they're like, oh, but you've been with men. It's clear biphobia because they're queer and you're queer, but they're judging you on your queerness kind of thing. But a straight woman judging a bi man is straight homophobia.
Yeah. 100%.
In that aspect, it's just. And too many men will date a bisexual woman because I've had it myself. Of not all men, obviously. Before someone tries my man,
that's a fetishization thing.
It's a
right?
fetishization.
Yeah.
I've been asked the threesome question for sure.
Same, me too.
But it's just like I just find it wild, like that standard of like, oh no, it's my preference not to date a bi man. I was like, it's not a preference. The root of the problem is homophobia.
Yeah.
But people will come back as like it's like one of those things where like I have a black friend. It's like I have a gay friend. You know, it's like I can't be homophobic.
Of course.
You know,
right? Exactly.
Like
I'll say it with you. They said
you're agreeing. You are a straight man, but like you also find it wild that a straight woman won't date a bisexual or pansexual man. But you do agree from like a straight perspective, right? That
of course
that's wild, right?
It's an odd thing. I'm like remembering now, and I definitely remember one of my exes saying something akin to this at some point.
That's why they.
I don't remember which one it was.
That's why they an ex.
I definitely remember one of them saying something akin to this. And it's an odd sentiment. Like I don't like it's very clear it's like homophobia, but like I don't think I asked why they felt that way because I think it was like in passing. I think we were watching something. I don't like the internal contradiction. I mean, we're all contradictions in ourselves.
Sure.
The internal contradiction you have to do there to like
a lot of mental gymnastics.
I support the mental gymnastics is like I support women and women love women and then like have to like skip over the fact that it's like, yeah, but I won't date a bi guy. Like, well, why won't you? Wouldn't you support the same thing? Like it might like there are two reasons I can think of. It's the homophobia or it's like internalized like they are doing homophobia by proxy by just outright not liking like men in a certain way in like a certain context.
I also feel like
is the other reason I can think
almost
of.
like I don't know if this is the right term, but almost like an internalized misogyny because they don't like to think of the man they're dating as feminine.
Right. I think it feels that way to me. I feel like it's
Also,
we live
who
in a
says
society where there's been hundreds of years of men acting like men. We've grown up being sort of brainwashed into society where men always have to be men and women have to be, dainty, little creatures, soft and stuff, and men have to be very hard. So when a woman thinks about their man because that's what they're thinking. They're not thinking like, oh, he's the top then for sure. They're thinking, oh, you're
Just the
gay,
fact
so
that
you're
they're
the
with a
bottom,
dude.
so you're taking dick.
well,
So it's like I just feel like it's warped, but I think that we've grown up in a society where we're all supposed to be thinking like that.
But it's also going back to like judging women for being slightly more masculine.
Yes.
But assuming that they're gay. It's also because men. This is the whole thing. Femininity and masculinity, unfortunately, we have grown up in a society that says that masculinity is to men and femininity is to women.
Right.
But everyone's got a little bit of everything. You can be a little feminine. And feminine doesn't have to be super effeminate. It can be if you want it to. But feminine just like softer in a sense. And that doesn't have to be just for women. You can be emotional and a little softer with how you are. But you can also be masculine. That's why a lot of independent women who made their own careers and very on their own, a lot of men are like, we'll fucking give them shit because they're independent women, because that is more masculine to them in their mind, and that isn't appealing in their very, heteronormative way of thinking.
Yeah.
And like the bisexual men thing, they're automatically just thinking about men boycotting men, but it's just like, he's currently dating you though. Why are you even thinking about him with anybody else? That doesn't make any sense since he's also been with women.
Right.
And the only thing you're thinking about is like, oh, he's been with a man that's just too feminine for me, or I don't like my men feminine, or I don't like blah blah blah.
Uh-huh.
It's just like,
or
what the
I
fuck?
don't like my men a little sassy. Like if you're sassy, then I'm looking at you sideways.
Look, if I did end up with a dude, he's gonna be
Queer.
what people think are gonna think are a little gay.
Okay.
I'm a little bisexual girl, my little gay boyfriend, That's what it would have been.
Yeah.
As someone who's very confident in their own sexuality, that they don't mind being feminine. Or maybe they are queer also, which is still being, embracing their own sexuality anyways.
Yeah. My man is queer. And I love him that way. And I can't imagine myself like with a cisgender man, because I just feel like I'm not gonna connect with him in a lot of ways.
And the few that I have in my life, they're chill dudes, and that's how you know that they're confident in their own selves. I will say maybe I am a little mean to men, but especially when I'm dating. When I'm dating, I was just always really forward with it. Well, not always. When I started being more blunt and not being more confident in myself and not just people pleasing, I started being really just straightforward. Especially when I went through just my hooking up phase, and I would let everybody know this is just a hookup. And especially with dudes, I had to be like, this is just a hookup. Ain't nothing else than that. That's fine. I also had hard and fast rules. I have these things set out because that's my boundaries, because I just know my experience with other people in general. And we both benefit if you do that thing, I will do the other thing.
Right.
So it's just like, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's fun. Going off of what you said about, femininity and masculinity and the fact that we have both, Esther, as a non-binary person, how do you own both sides? If you own both sides, like how does that look for you?
Yeah, because I feel like it doesn't matter if you own both or if you want to do one or the other. I feel like that's the thing. That's the choice there. If you want to be either or, and what you feel is best for you.
Right.
Yeah. Something that's, interesting is I mentioned earlier that there was a time when I immediately came out as bi that I felt like I had to be hyper feminine to sort of make up for something in my mind that I've been fed over time that I felt like I, had to make up for. which wasn't true. But in that similar way, when I first came out as non-binary, I chopped all my hair off. Not all of it, but it was slightly shorter than this. I had dyed it. I was wearing like a lot of button-up shirts. No, I wish. I always fear that my head's gonna be a weird shape. It was like quite a bob.
I have that same weird fear.
You know I've been pushing for that short hair. You know I've been pushing.
Short hair. But I was getting more and more tattoos, so it was I had appeared a certain way that wasn't necessarily like mask, but it was like more gearing towards like an androgyny, like people get it's like we said, like queer fashion, right? And then I think at a certain point I thought to myself, well, the whole point of me coming out was that I can just be like, I can take up space. And so like I don't know that I'm ever intentional about, sometimes as an actor I think when I get called in for a role that's like queer, non-binary, right? And I show up as myself. Sometimes people don't really want that because they either think, that's not what we think is queer or non-binary.
It's still in their own ideas of what queer is.
Yeah. But I know that how I like to show up for those parts of myself is to approach sort of every aspect of me without that thinking, just to know that all of it is just existing within me, and it's great, and in other people, and it's just I think it's letting myself take space and letting other people also take space in that way.
Okay. And then Althemar, I'm wondering too, just on your side, growing up Latino, obviously, and then like being in your own masculinity, did you ever feel like you had to act almost like, obviously not all, but a lot of Latino men in that machismo that a lot of them present? Did you ever feel like you had to play into that growing up, or was your family okay for you not to have to do that? Or
I mean, Melissa would certainly have more of a recollection of the earlier years, but like
I know you can tell us too.
But like if I did, I didn't care, because I mean there were a litany of problems when I was like I fought a lot with my parents, and still do. Dad wasn't present enough in there to instill any sort of thing like because of the fact that he wasn't like active in this way, it wasn't really happening in this. He wasn't really instilling anything in this way. And Dad had OCD issues of his own that clearly kind of break out from the mode of that sort of masculinity. So like he didn't know it, but or he doesn't know it, or is actively ignoring it or something. And Mom, like she does that in her own ways, and in very particular ways. She tries to enforce this, but that sort of it comes part and parcel with all of the many arguments I have. So like because of that sort of friction, I don't think I personally ever needed to feel this way. Mostly because that sort of thing was caught in the crossfire anyway, of whatever we were arguing about, most likely. It was only really until I went to DR that I feel this more strongly. Usually, when I go back to the DR, like, men there are different from me, like markedly so, in the way they act, and like what their professions are, and like. Definitely how far along they are in I guess the stages of life, as it were, right? I definitely feel that there, and it doesn't help that my Spanish is subpar, also, because then I have to break my way in Spanish through like sentences and try and talk about what it is. It's certainly way more something I feel way more in extended family situations than I do like at home at all, really, because it was just something getting sniped anyway.
Yeah, I think our father isn't the macho man that most Dominican men are at his age. I think he has his own way of doing things, and that's all he cares about. It's like he said, like, unfortunately, our father wasn't really present to instill that machismo, that that sort of characteristic of Dominican
I don't know if
men.
that's unfortunate, but it also isn't.
Well, yeah. Well, it's unfortunate in another way
that he wasn't around, but
fortunate in the way that Althemar didn't take on that machismo, and like I feel like you've never really played into that sort of thing. Fortunately, I didn't grow up with a brother who was just like, I'm like too cool for school, you know what I mean? Like he was never that guy. I can attest to that. Esther, he was just like never that person, thankfully. But
you strike me as someone who just don't give a fuck. Not in a bad way, just like you're like, I'm just kind of doing whatever.
He very much is.
I mean, and on mom's side, I don't know, like I think she reinforces it in a very indirect, different way. Certainly,
she does.
More so when Melissa was around, right?
Yeah. I think that there's a certain way that Dominican women, they sort of expect something about the boys and they expect another thing about the girls.
I feel like that's with a lot of families, especially POC. It's just like boys are treated very differently from the daughters. And
it's just like, the boys, they don't have to do much, and boys will be boys, and girls mature faster than boys, and that rhetoric. And frankly, I'm tired of it, and I am always blue in the face telling our mother that. That's a whole other thing, but
I think me not caring about those things, puts in, and I think I mentioned it before to Esther, Melissa. I always say, the thing I say was I was like, my personality is I was raised by my friends more than I was by mom or dad, really. Right. Because and I think I include you here because you talked very loosely about the Rock Church, but right, but like yes. The friends you made there were of varying degrees, right, and like there were some people you met that definitely introduced me to the concept of queerness, and I was like, oh yeah, sure. As a young kid, and certainly I think that probably helped that along, right, in a sort of way of being more accepting. It's like, oh yeah, whatever, sure,
right,
sort of thing.
Right. So like, I definitely brought those people around you, like I danced in a church, but I also, that was like one of the first times that I ever grew up and like danced around like a whole bunch of queer people and queer folk. Like, yes, a lot of them were guys. A lot of them were guys, but that was also my introduction and how I came to realize that I was queer too. When I came.
Oh my
God,
that you're
scene,
queer.
But I mean, I'm glad that I took part of that and in a way that you're accepting. It's been fun. It's been
thanks,
really fun.
Guys.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
We would love to have you on again.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to run out of guests at some point, and we're going to repeat guests as it is. So, but if there's any particular subject y'all want to fucking rant on, let us know, because we're
you can bring me back. You can bring me back for the online dating one.
Okay,
I can be back for that.
Okay, perfect.
Honestly, we should get a group for that one. I feel like everyone can attest for
it could be a discussion. I think
online dating.
This is good. There could definitely be a really good discussion.
This is going to be our sign-off, so just hang on for a second. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify, video and audio at 30s Dirty Thoughtin. We're on TikTok and Instagram. Send us an email, even though no one ever does except for spam emails about how you can power your car with water. It's 30 Dirty Thoughtin at gmail.com. So, this is the end. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Esther. Thank you,
Esther and Althemar. Peace.
Be free.